Back in 2001, the film Serendipity released to capture the hearts of all romantics worldwide. Today, my mom joins me to discuss this movie she adores and the coffee she's crazy over. This is the Being Real podcast. My name is Evan. Lorrie, it's time to be real. Hello and welcome to the Being Real podcast. Here with me today is my mother, arguably the best mother in the world, Lorrie Shableski. Lorrie, how are you?
Doing good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. We recently enjoyed a beautiful Christmas with one another.
Yes, we did.
Many good presents, many good laughs, maybe too many cookies, right?
Wow, too many cookies.
Yeah, I don't think, usually I reset for the new year. I don't think that's going to happen this year. I don't think there's going to be any resetting or any physical activity to get me back in shape. I think it's just going to be all cookie. How about you?
Well, I'm hoping to set some good goals for myself this year.
Okay. What kind of goals?
Well, I want to start doing some exercising a little more to get stronger because we have a big trip planned, don't we?
We do. We're going to be going to Ireland in the early summer, which is going to be new for us. I don't think we've ever went on a big family trip like that. So very excited for that. So being that you're the first guest on the podcast, how I want to maybe structure this is just, introducing yourself, who you are, what you do, or maybe what you like to do. So if you can just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a mom, as you just found out. And
Wait, just found out. What's breaking here?
Well, no, you told
Is there a third child coming to the family?
You told everybody. Okay. But I have two children, Evan.
I'm one of them, yeah.
And Rachel, who just graduated from college. So she'll be looking for a job. So we're pretty excited for her. And I have been married for 30 years this year.
To that schlub, huh?
And I'm a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
And I work at the VA. I'm the executive assistant to the medical center director. That's a mouthful, I know. But it's a good job.
Big boss lady.
I like it a lot. And I enjoy reading and movies. And I think that's one of the things that you and I enjoy doing together is watching movies.
I think so too. I think I go back to when you would take me to the movies. I think, that's kind of where I really enjoyed going to the movies. When I was a kid, I had like two favorite things in mind. Two favorite things that I liked that my parents would take me to do. And one was going to sleep at hotels whenever we travel, which just seems so silly. It seems so dumb, but it's true. And I really liked when you'd take me to the movies. And I think the first movie that I really, or maybe series that we had gotten into was the Harry Potter series.
Yes.
It was like a yearly, maybe, every 2-year event that we do. And that was special to me.
Yeah, it was like a big deal. Every time a movie came out, we went and, got the popcorn and, just enjoyed it.
I don't think there's anything like it. And, even if you're not actually talking to one another, whether you're with friends or family during a movie, it's just something that you share together. It's an experience that is maybe otherworldly, and I think there's something special in that. And I guess typically what I would like to do with the guests too is, how did we meet? But in this specific instance, it was from the get-go.
Yeah, we met at Hammond Hospital.
Hammond Hospital in Erie, PA. But I guess, is there anything new or exciting in your life that you'd like to share?
Well, we kind of just mentioned that, I'm looking forward to the trip to Ireland because I've never traveled abroad before.
Ever in your life?
No. So this will be an all new experience for me. It's a little exciting, but yet a little scary because I've never gone that far. But as you know, we both have that love of travel. And
Sure,
like you said,
for
kind
sure.
of the same thing. Traveling with your family or your friends, it's having those experiences together and making those memories. So, seeing things that are new
I
is
mean,
always
these will
fun.
be like new experiences in like an entirely different place that we've culture
Right,
that we've never experienced before as a family. So it'll be interesting to see how we navigate that going there.
right, right,
Because we were never, like a Disneyland family. We
right.
were never a plane. I went on my first plane ride with my wife when we started dating. So this is going to be quite the experience for all of us. Like we've never been in an airport together, navigating that chaos.
Right.
And that was always somewhat of a tumultuous time. The initial traveling together on road trips to Maine where we'd vacation together. So I'm scared for Dan in the airport together.
Well, I think what's going to be nice is, the group that we're going with, the lady who heads it, she is so experienced at it that she has it down to a science. So I think the scary part of that whole airport thing and the
Yeah,
travel is going to be nice because we're going to have somebody telling us what to do and where to go and everything. So that'll be less scary and
for sure.
a little more fun, I think, less stressful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I have a lot of confidence in that we book something that's planned. The other thing we're here for is not only, it's not a movie podcast, but it's also a coffee podcast. So, touching on that coffee subject, I kind of want to talk about, your experience with the coffee world. Maybe we can start with your, favorite brew house, your favorite coffee.
Well, over the years, when your dad and I have traveled, one of the things that we always did, even when you guys were little, before you were accustomed to drinking coffee, was stopping at coffee shops.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the places that we had been, I want to say it was in Quebec, was a place that they had they served you your coffee with a French press.
Ooh,
And
fancy.
yeah, and I had it was like an orange flavored
Okay.
coffee, and it was so delicious.
Like
I
orange
never
chocolate or just
like an
citrus
orange chocolate. So I
Okay,
never
wow.
forgot that taste and that experience, and haven't found it since.
It's a great combo.
Yeah, orange and chocolate together are awesome. But one of my favorite places, and I call it my guilty pleasure,
Okay.
I go at least one Saturday a month, is to Brew in Erie,
And I am familiar.
where I live. And I enjoy their tiramisu coffee, which is a dark chocolate vanilla flavored coffee.
Okay.
But they also have a Bengal tiger, which is the orange.
Orange and chocolate.
Chocolate.
So it kind of came full circle.
Right, right.
I from that coffee house, because I have been there, I am from Erie, is the lavender haze. Or they call it purple haze there. Big lavender fan of my lattes. But do you feel like you typically go for a latte when you stop at cafes, or
It just depends on my mood.
yeah,
Sometimes it'll be a flavored coffee, just, regular coffee.
Sure.
Or it might be a latte.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends.
So it's not your favorite item, let's say,
Right.
but it's something that you usually go for. I feel like lattes have gotten more popular.
Oh, yeah.
In America, especially since places like more commercial, like Starbucks, have released seasonal lattes, flavored lattes. I feel like any coffee shop I go to, they have like a laundry list of latte flavors, and
Yes.
it's just overwhelming, but also cool. I really
Right.
like that they have those options. I think when it comes to the latte, something that's nice about it is, I don't know, like a sense of warmth. It's really a milk drink if it comes down to it. You have a very small shot of espresso, maybe two in a latte. So I think there's something comforting in that.
It's like a hug in a mug.
Hug, a hug in a mug, trademarked Lorrie 2023. What's cool about a latte is that there is a national holiday for the lattes. I think everything nowadays has a national holiday for some reason.
Yes, every day of the month there's a national something day.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but National Latte Day is October 7th,
Oh, okay.
which
Is your wedding anniversary?
is my wedding anniversary. So I think it's only appropriate that of all the flavors that they have out, they need an Evan and Katie flavor.
They do.
In Italy, they have the lattes there aren't as popular, and really they're only reserved for breakfast. They only have those at breakfast. From doing some limited research, so I don't know if I can 100% confirm that this is true, but I don't doubt it. I feel like in Italy they're more hard-nosed, like espresso, the cigarette in an outside cafe. I feel like that's more their vibe, so I feel like that makes sense. Going back to Brouhaha, is there anything that you would change about the ambiance, the drink selection, or would you just keep it the same?
I guess I would say it would be nice if they expanded.
Okay.
And were a little bit bigger of.
So you feel like it's claustrophobic?
Shop. Well, yes. There are certain days you go and there's a huge line out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And, they keep changing the seating around, trying to make it a little more conducive for people to have more seating. But I think the real thing is they need to have a little bit bigger of a place because they also serve food and hot foods. So because of the kitchen space, it's a little limited for the seating. So I think it would benefit them to be in a little bit bigger of a place.
I think my understanding is that in the Mill Creek area where we're from in Erie County, they don't really have a wide variety of local coffee shops. They had a couple.
Right.
They had Brick House, but really they only have that's not commercial.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Dunkin's, Tim Hortons up that way. But yeah, I probably would agree with that. It being the only local coffee house, they really need to expand.
Yeah.
For sure. Transitioning into another reason why we're here, talking about films. You chose for your favorite movie a holiday movie, which is really appropriate because, it is New Year's Eve today, is Serendipity. It's a movie that came out in the early 2000s, and a question, really a segue from the coffee world and the movie world, is if you could have any drink, the main actor, John Cusack, what would you like to share with him? Where would you like to share that with him?
Well, Evan, I would have to say that I would love to go to that little Serendipity place.
Serendipity Cafe.
That's in the movie.
Which we'll touch on.
Yes. And whether it be having a hot chocolate or whatever it may be, I think it would be really a cool thing to sit and have a conversation with him because he is one of my favorite actors. And I enjoy most movies he is in.
I think we'll touch on that too, about the, actors and their performances in the movie. But one thing I wanted to get out of the way is for the audience, are you able to give a quick synopsis of the movie that's fairly spoiler free? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put 30 seconds on the clock. You're going to be racing against time here.
Okay.
And I want you to give me that synopsis. 3, 2, and 1.
So a couple meet accidentally.
To meet cute.
And, are having a good time in the short period of time of the day that they're together. And then they kind of go their separate ways. But they never actually forget that person. And both people are going to be married to someone else. And then
25 seconds.
And then think, what would have been like if I could meet that other person again and be with them? Would my life be any different?
And that is time. And that was about 32 seconds. It was a little gracious.
That was pretty good, though.
It was a good synopsis. I To your point in the synopsis, I think the movie, the greater arcing theme, would you agree that it is that fate, destiny?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. So, talking about that theme, is there any like particular message within that umbrella theme that moved you?
Well, I think one of the things in the movie is, finding your soulmate. And it's all about timing. Like, I truly believe that there's more than one person for everyone in this world. It's just a matter of timing and who you meet when. So you could have met somebody 10 years ago who might have been like a person that you could have been with forever, but due to different circumstances in your life at the time, the timing was wrong. So you move along and you meet other people. And if the timing is right for both of you, then that's who you end up with. So it's pretty cool when you think about life in that way, because I think there are a lot of people in life who think, oh, there's only one person for me, and get depressed if they're not with that person. But if people open themselves up, and I guess if you're ever really meant to be with that first person, you'll find your way back to each other again some way. But what I really like about the movie too is the friendships that, I don't know if I should say their character name or their real name.
I think we'll go by actor. Go by actor.
Yeah. So Jeremy Piven plays John Cusack's best friend in the movie.
Yes.
And Molly Shannon plays Kate Beckinsale's best friend in the movie. And it really speaks a lot about friendship and what people will do for their friends that they truly love to ensure their happiness.
Sure. Yeah, and that resonated with me as well. So let's take both of those themes as separate, and we'll address one by one. The theme we're talking about with fate in the setting of love, I think you bring an interesting point that's not really traditional. Like, years and years of cinema have taught many people that one destined lover, you can have no one else. There's one person made and tailored for you. And I tend to agree with you. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think that timing plays a significant role. And I like to believe that love is more of the dedication and these small things you do to keep that relationship alive, that love alive. And to that next point, into the theme of friendship, you're right. That's what John Cusack's and Kate Beckinsale's friends do. They throw away a lot of the maybe insanity that these characters are putting themselves through for love, and understanding that, loyalty in these small acts that they do and helping their friend find a connection, a passion in life is more important than maybe believing that there's only one thing made for you. And just, I think there's not a lot of agency in that, is there? Just leaving it up to fate and that there's only one person with you. It really comes down to those small actions like you talked about. So I think you're pretty spot on.
And some people think, like the universe does give you signs or hints about things. And, in the movie, he keeps hearing the girl's name over and over again. Sarah, a song Sarah, or different things like that. And it's like, so it takes him back, and it's like, oh yeah, like I was looking for her for so long, and then kind of met somebody and gave up that, but then that brings him back to that again. Also her, and, being kind of not happy in her relationship, and then seeing an old movie marquee of a movie that John Cusack had said he saw, took her right back to thinking about him again, and and then that just got her on the ball of trying to find him again.
Right. And yeah, those little signs that they throw in throughout the movie are really, really cool. I like the tie-in to fate and destiny with signs. I think a lot of people spiritually do believe in signs, maybe even, omens. And this movie does a really great job of portraying that. I know not everyone's a believer, but for those who are, I think they do it in really fascinating ways, like the callback to the initial scene when John Cusack cannot believe that Kate Beckinsale has never seen Cool Hand Luke. And they bring it back with her finding a poster when she's really unhappy with her relationship and is really kind of dreaming about John Cusack's character once again, years later. And I really like the sign of, it's really a heartbreaking scene that I kind of wanted to talk about too, where it's the eve of John Cusack's wedding and he's sitting there with his fiance and she tells him something is up, right? Like something's not right. You're getting cold feet. And they share this moment where she gives him a present. And it's the book. It's that one book. I'm trying to find the name.
Love in the Time of Cholera.
Love in the Time of Cholera. You, the expert of Serendipity, would know. I have to refer to my notes. And what I really like about that scene is that she hands it to him, and it's that ultimate sign where, Kate Beckinsale's character had written her number in the book. It's that last confirmation that he can find her. And he kind of just has this small moment. I think John Cusack really sells it. His performance is incredible, where he knows that this is the confirmation, that this sign is true, that he should go for it.
Are you talking about when he's sitting in the taxi cab with his friend?
No, I'm talking about when they're in the wedding hall,
okay.
The venue.
Okay. Well,
and they share that small moment.
One scene that really affects me is when he has the book.
Okay.
And he gets in the cab with his best friend and he's, very emotional.
Sure.
And shows him that her number, and then his friend gets on the phone and starts,
Right.
Asking for a number because he works for the New York Times. And I just find that very, that just touches me,
Exactly.
And
well, it's that passion that we talked about.
Yeah.
People are getting behind this passionate movement of these two lovers trying to find one another again.
Right.
And I don't think they really don't pull any punches when they're trying to sell that. But also, just going back to that scene in the wedding venue, they also understand that real people are being affected here. Like John Cusack's fiance. She's giving him this gift because he's been looking for this book she mentions in various bookstores over the past 7-year timeline since they first, Kate Beckinsale and John Cusack met. And he understands that I am giving up on this person that loves me. She's giving me this book because she knows I've been searching for it. But it's heartbreaking, but it's really moving because he also knows it's his sign to take that leap of faith for Kate Beckinsale. I just thought that was so heartbreaking. I don't know what you thought of that.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I guess the other thing we should say about the movie, because I just wanted to say this because for people who never saw it, that it has everything. There's comedy in it.
It sure does.
Great emotion, just feel good. I would have to probably say it's probably one of the most original romantic comedies that were there.
Absolutely. I mean, especially from point A to point B. I think point A and point B itself is very stereotypical, but at that time, I'm sure it was, this was something new. I mean, they really approached a traditional meet and greet and just took it way out of field. And I was really impressed with that. Now, talking about that feel good, warm feeling, do you think that was the emotion prevailing throughout the film?
I think so.
If you could put a name to an emotion, what would it be for this film?
That's a tough one.
I know. To me, I would say cozy. I don't know. I think there's a lot more to this movie than the word cozy. But for me, in the holiday season, I think it was perfect. I think it just fell in place with that warm feeling.
Right.
For me. I don't know. Do you think there's any messages from this movie that are applicable to your life now? If not an emotion?
I mean, I've met people in my life,
Yeah.
where I felt like the universe has brought us together.
Okay.
So I guess that's why it resonates with me so much. Sometimes you just meet different people, whether it be a friend or, a loved one, a significant other, where you just know that you were meant to meet that person,
Right.
whether it be for a short period of time or a long period of time.
Right.
So I feel like the characters are playing sometimes a little piece of my life out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, interesting.
Maybe that's why
So you
I like it
strongly
so much.
identify with this
I
film.
really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about it all the time. I'm like, especially after I saw it the first time, I was just kind of blown away by it. But I also love the music in the movie. Like, Annie Lennox has one of the most beautiful voices ever. And the song that she sings in the movie, I think the whole soundtrack totally fits that movie so well.
Even the non-instrumental pieces they pick for the movie just fit right in. I will say, I want to get this right out of the way first. The music piece they play towards the end of the movie where they're racing towards one another, that had 2000s written all over it. It had these like big like synthesizer, like synth chords coming in. I was like, oh, but you're right. The movie, by and large, has wonderful selections. I wrote a note down about the riff they play. Whenever John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale, I think, should we just call them by initial? I hate to keep spelling out their names. So JC, KB, okay? So when JC and KB are thinking about one another, or there's a sign popping up that we talked about, it plays this guitar riff. You know what I'm talking about? It's cloying, it's repeating, and it kind of gives you a sense that they just can't get each other out of their minds when they play that riff. Right. And I thought it was a really nice, really neat piece that they played there.
Yeah, I have to agree.
For sure. Speaking of music, there's a scene in the movie with this large band. I think it's in the beginning of the movie, maybe when they first meet. Do you remember? And there's like a super quotable part of that sequence where there's this big, I don't know, like Christmas holiday band out on the street, and John goes, "That's a lot of tuba." Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Like they have little embellishments of lightheartedness throughout the movie, that it's not all plot, finding each other, signs, destiny driven. Right.
I think another song was that kind of fit the scene very well is when JC's best friend writes his obituary. Because he was trying to write his best man
Katie
speech.
And my wife, we were talking about this.
And that is such an awesome scene where he's walking through Central Park. He's reading this obituary. The music is playing. He's not noticing anybody else around him, even though there's like a ton of people around him. And just the different looks on his face as he reads the different parts shows that his friend truly gets who he is as a person. And I just love that part of the movie.
Absolutely. So that scene, first and foremost, I think Jeremy Piven gives a really good voice performance of that scene. You can tell in his voice that these guys have been friends for years. Interestingly enough, in my research, JC and JP, they have been. They were childhood best friends. Did you know that?
No.
They were childhood best friends, and I think that brought a lot to this movie. And I can see that one scene that you said, kind of like him walking along, reading the letter, and he's kind of smiling a little bit, and it's just like you can feel that friendship there. One thing I wanted to add that's totally not related in any way is his jacket. Isn't that the coolest jacket you've ever seen?
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big jacket guy.
I know you are.
I love jackets. Like, I could give less of a shit about anything in my wardrobe, but a nice jacket, JC brought it.
Yeah.
He brought it. My mom's like, oh my God, because she knows my jacket collection.
Well, I have to say too, Evan, it also made me think, him reading that and how well his friend knew him gave me the same feels as your best man's speech for you. It was like he totally captured you and the person that you are
Yeah.
for his. So
That's not a thought I had, but it's one that I think about now. And you're right. We watched the video of our wedding recently, and they put a good segment of Jacob, my best man's speech. And you're right. Like you could tell he understood what I would like to hear about myself moving into a marriage with my wife, right? And that's how it felt. Wow, I didn't think about that, but you're right. Like that perfectly captures how
your friend knows you.
Exactly. Now, since we were talking a little bit about, JC and Jeremy Piven a little bit, I'd like to, talk about and move into the characters. Do you think just the characters, not the performers, is there anyone in the movie that you identify with? Maybe back then, now, maybe there's been a change. Who would you say? And to be fair, like it could even be, I don't want to rule it out, it could be a male character. I can let you know who I think you identify with the most. I think you share a lot of the steadiness and drivenness that John Cusack portrays in the movie with his character Jonathan.
I think that's true.
I think you're very dedicated in that way. But I also think that you have some of the quirkiness that Molly Shannon brings to her role.
True. That's what I was going to say.
Well, tell me about that. How do you think you identify with her?
I just feel that all of my friends, most of them, my really good friends,
okay,
besides two of them, I was one of the last ones to get married.
Oh, okay.
And I always helped them in their adventures or their pursuits with their people that they were interested in. And I was always like that, that third wheel wingman,
cheerleader,
whatever it was. It was like, hey,
like a 27 dresses kind of situation.
I could see me so much if my friend said, can you go to New York City with me and help me find this guy?
You would. You'd be like, hell yeah, when are we leaving?
Yeah, I would have been like, yeah, let's go. Because I love love,
I love love. Man, you're dropping a lot of quotables today, aren't you?
I am. And it's like,
I love love.
I will do whatever to help people in their pursuit of what brings them joy or happiness.
Are you a self-proclaimed love guru? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know about that. But yeah, I could see that. And just because, I have a good sense of humor as well about myself. I can laugh about myself and things that I do. So yeah, I could see a combination of John Cusack and Molly Shannon for sure.
Okay. Now with the characters, is there anyone actor, actress that you would replace with any of the performers in this movie? Like if you could take, for example, John Cusack and replace him with a Brad Pitt.
I have to say,
okay,
Bridget Monahan plays John Cusack's fiance. I didn't really care for their choice of person playing her.
I agree.
I like Bridget. I love her in,
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I just had a blank of what show she's on. Blue Bloods. I love her on that show.
Okay.
But in this role, they should have put somebody else in that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I've seen her in other things, and she has way too much personality that she brings to her other roles to be in this one. And to be fair to her, I don't think she necessarily gives a bad performance.
No.
I think it's pretty good, maybe decent. But I think it's the script that kind of wrongs her. They kind of make her out to be this whiny and dependent fiance to him, where she's just kind of like, tell me you love me, this and that. And I don't know. I just think the script makes her to be unlikable.
Well, do you think that they chose that type of a character that she played because it had to be kind of opposite of what Kate Beckinsale would be?
I think so. I mean, it probably made it an easier sell.
Yeah.
To leave your fiance for Kate Beckinsale for sure. I mean, But I think her strongest performance in the movie was definitely that scene in the wedding venue when she's having that heart-to-heart with John Cusack.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I would replace her with someone. You're right. I would. So is there anyone you would have in mind that would be better, or
That's the top of my head. I can't
just variable
think of
actress?
someone. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair. Is there any one character in the movie that you think was given the best line of dialogue? Like maybe consistently throughout the film?
I think Jeremy Piven.
I think I'd agree. I think he's given the best material.
Yeah. Yeah, he had to play a varied role in the way that he interacted with everyone.
Sure.
Still come across as, that best friend that has that caring, but yet, he wanted to like basically slap him in the head a couple of times and like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
he plays it realistically.
Yeah.
But he gives the script so much heart. I think maybe it goes back to that friendship that we had talked about between those two actors, JC and Jeremy Piven. But he definitely gives the script so much gravity. I don't think I would even attempt to swap his role at all. I think he was probably the perfect actor for that role. Mm-hmm. He's a buddy, but he's also a realist.
Yeah.
And he's going to tell you like it is. Is there any, maybe when you first watched the movie, was there any actor that you were swooning over? Because I'll be honest, I don't know if John Cusack is the stereotypical Fabio leading man.
Well, he's not, but there's just something about him that is just like,
I don't know if I want to hear this.
I'm just attracted to him.
I think I ran myself into a corner here.
I'm just attracted to him. And it's like he has
a mystique. I'll give him that. He has a mystique for sure.
Yeah.
I think if I'm being honest, I think he might be one actor I would replace in the movie.
Oh my.
I listen, I think he gives a great performance. I think he's one of the strongest, maybe under Jeremy Piven in the movie as a second performance. But my view of the movie, because I recently watched this for the first time as a mature adult today.
Yeah, just so everybody knows.
Okay, here we go.
I had this DVD.
Yeah.
And I would occasionally watch it.
You would.
And my kids would be like, oh my God, not this movie again.
Yep, you were right.
And then one day I went to watch it and it was scratched. I couldn't even watch it.
I remember.
And I think one of my kids did it purposely.
Listen, I plead the fifth and I will direct any further communication to my sister Rachel. Case closed. I think it was a movie that you had put on with John Cusack starring in it, and it was more of like a thriller horror movie, and he was the lead. And man, like, can he really play the psychopath in movies? He kind of has that mystique that I talked about, and I think that really muddled my view of him in this movie. I'm like, he's a serial killer. I don't know why he's in a romantic lead movie. That's probably why, but I don't know. I think I'd maybe swap him out with someone. I don't even know if I have anyone in mind. Maybe like a Mark Ruffalo or someone I could see in this role.
I think if you put somebody different in that movie, it would make it too cheesy.
Yeah.
You need somebody who has like that kind of a complicated personality that doesn't come across as has all this charisma and charm and stuff. So you get like he's a real guy.
Yeah,
he's
for
just
sure.
a real guy.
He does play the average Joe really well.
Yes.
Like any ex guy could insert themselves in the movie and feel like, yeah, I could absolutely date Kate Beckinsale. I think you're probably right about that. I think he might be the perfect. And what's really funny about that is that Kate Beckinsale in an interview, she would say that 9 times out of 10 guys come up to her and say how great of a movie this is and how much they love it and fawn over it. So maybe it is John Cusack in that role that really brings that mold for guys to really, like myself, to really just enjoy a romantic comedy, which, isn't always the case. You don't always get a whole lot of guys wishing, I can't wait till the next romantic comedy comes out. Like, so for a movie to come out in the 2000s and to capture the heart of men everywhere, I applaud it.
Yeah, correct.
Just one thing before we break for a little bit, I wanted to touch on a character. I don't know the actor's name, but whoever plays Lars, and he plays I don't know if it's a Middle Eastern instrumentation music. It's just instrumental. I think he does a really commendable job of playing that role, because I think the script really gives him to play a douchebag version of Kenny G, and he does it really he does it really well.
The actor's name is John Corbett.
Okay. He's familiar, but I didn't know his name.
So he played in My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
That's right. Okay. He still has the same hair in that movie, doesn't he? The long ramen noodle hair?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Sex and the City. But a lot of times they portray him as the guy you're talking about that you thought that John Cusack should be replaced by. Like, he's the charming, charismatic. So in this movie, as you say, he kind of plays like a,
smarmy kind of character.
Yeah, I only care about my
career, myself, my music is my passion.
Right, right.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right. That is a good foil to JC's character, really. It seemed out of place at times, his scenes, because they just seemed like they were going for something so out of field with his character. Like, I remember laughing with Katie at that one scene where he's on the couch. John Corbett, is that his name?
Yeah.
Is with his manager, and they're watching the music video they're making for him.
Right.
And it's like this music video where he's like calming this wave of attacking Vikings. And I have to laugh because there's this scene where the Viking in the music video is like on the ground covering his ears in supposed agony. And John Corbett goes, "Do you think they hate the music?"
Right.
And I don't know. I think those scenes are really funny as they stand, but I don't know if they blend into the movie perfectly.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
I feel like they could have nixed those out.
Yeah, I think they were trying a little too hard to show how he wasn't right for her.
Yeah.
Like, they just took it to the extreme.
Okay, yeah.
Or they were trying to make it so people wouldn't be like, "Oh my God, why isn't she going with him?" Because he typically plays the guy that the girl
Everybody
ends
knows
up
why.
With,
Everybody knows why.
And at the beginning, though, I was kind of like, well, the very first time I saw the movie, I remembered how he did that whole romantic thing for her.
He
with
decorated the house with the petals for the engagement, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh boy. But then it showed his
But in that same scene, he proposes to her and he's like, "All right, I'm gonna go and plan the rest of my tour."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Oh, you just proposed to her. You're gonna leave her there?" Like, what?
Right.
But I will say the riff they play for his music, it's pretty sweet. It's a pretty sweet riff. I don't know what instrument that is, but I gotta say, like, if he had a real-time concert in John Corbett, I think I would go see that. I think I would go see it. If you don't mind, I would like to touch on Eugene Levy's character in the movie. What did you think about his performance?
That's kind of typical for him.
Typical Eugene Levy?
Yeah. Comedy kind of thing.
When I was researching the movie, they actually had to tone him down quite a bit.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because he came in like schmucking it up. And they had to be like, "Eugene, like, it's just the script, just stick with the script. It's gonna naturally flow, and you're humorous just by being you in nature. So just run with it."
Well, he's a big improv comedian, so I could see that happening.
When you put it in that perspective, I guess that makes a little more sense. I think he shares a scene with Jeremy Piven in the Bloomingdale's document room.
Oh yeah.
And they're like asking him what they do, what JP does, and he's like, "Oh, I write the obituaries for the New York Times,
Or he says he writes for the
New
York
York Times. Oh, he writes for the New York Times.
And then
That's right.
They call him and he takes
They call Jeremy Piven, and Eugene Levy goes, "Oh, you write the obituaries," and he's like, "Yeah, I have the last word." And then they kind of go back and forth.
Yeah, right.
And Eugene's trying to have the last word with Jeremy Piven. I thought that was so funny.
Yeah.
But I think now's probably a good time to take a little bit of a break. We'll come back. We'll play a little game with the movie I call Two Truths and a Lie. I'm sure you've played the game before, but we're going to play it in the setting of this movie. And we'll kind of maybe then segue into some little notes we took about the movie and give our final verdict.
Okay.
Score the movie, okay?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Being realers, we'll be back. Hello. Welcome back to the Being Real podcast. Lorrie, still with me, talking about Serendipity, the movie. We just had a small recess, had a quick sub run. Katie brought us some subs from Jersey Mike.
Yes, my lovely daughter-in-law brought us subs.
The rosemary Parmesan bread, what'd you think about that?
That was good.
Oh, and it's not a sub podcast, but I almost want to make it a sub podcast after eating those. They were so good. I think we should come back and play a game that I wanted to start with the podcast. It's a game you might be familiar with. It's called Two Truths and a Lie. So I've kind of scoured the internet finding facts about Serendipity, and you have to determine, pick out what the lie is. The goal for me is to keep a good season record. So each guest I have on, I'll play the game with, and obviously I want to stoop them. I've picked out a few. After I've read them, you let me know what you think the lie is. First fact. The first fact. The film was actually re-edited at some point, and this was after its first showing. It was released, post 9/11. So the film in the beginning featured the two towers, the Twin Towers. This isn't Lord of the Rings. The Twin Towers, and they had to re-edit it out after public outcry. That's fact number one. Fact number two. The book, Love in the Time of Cholera, is actually featured in another John Cusack movie. This was High Fidelity. Fact number three. John Cusack played hockey in his youth, so in the scenes where he was skating in the beginning of the movie, he actually had to feign that he was bad at ice skating. He was used to skating. Lorrie, which one is the lie? You can deliberate. You can talk to me. You can ask for further questions about the facts. What do you think?
Number two.
Number two, which is, what's number two?
That the book Love in the Time of Cholera is in another movie he made.
Lorrie, that is a truth.
Oh.
It's actually true that the Book of Cholera appears in High Fidelity that John Cusack stars in.
Interesting.
The lie that I had written was that John Cusack did not play hockey.
See, now I would have guessed he played hockey.
Nope. He didn't look like he was a very proficient skater in the movie. And I thought in my head, well, maybe, he faked it. Maybe he was a hockey player. So that was the lie.
Okay.
That now makes me 1-0 for the season. Love to see it. Shooting 1 for 1. Now, I kind of wanted to transition into some last closing notes about the movie. Things that I'd written down while I was watching it, things that we maybe didn't touch on before. I thought about the setting of the movie, New York City, Christmas time. What could be better about that?
Not much.
Have you ever been to New York City during Christmas time?
I have not been there at Christmas time, but I did go one year, and
Okay.
I made sure I hit a lot of those spots. Serendipity,
Of course.
the Macy's.
Of course. So you've been to the restaurant before?
Yes.
You've had the frozen hot chocolate?
I have.
Which is to die for, by the way.
It was delicious.
Interestingly enough, I didn't know this because, again, it had been so long since I've watched this movie. The table where they sat in, coincidentally, is where me and Katie sat in when we went. And I just realized that we were by the railing. When you come up the stairs,
Okay.
on the left side, they have a row of tables. That's where me and Katie sat. And I thought that was so interesting. Now that watching it again, I'm like, wow, we were actually at what they call the star table.
Okay.
They call it the
That's
star
very
table
cool.
now at the restaurant. But I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's one shot that I could have on my wall, it would be early on in the movie where John Cusack is going to the ice rink, and they have this shot of the ice rink illuminated with the Christmas trees around the ice rink, and above that, the New York City skyline at night. It's a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
Is there any shot in particular in this movie that you would just be like, that is going above my fireplace?
Well, I've been through Central Park and different movies that I see when they take place in Central Park, or even the scene where he's walking there. I just
Oh,
think it's a beautiful,
Mom,
beautiful park.
that was the second image I was thinking. You're talking about the part where it's dark and he's reading the letter? Is that what,
Yes, right.
or the obituary for his best man speech?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's another good one. I didn't get a chance to go to Central Park, and I think they really picked probably the most picturesque part of Central Park to shoot from. So yeah, I agree. I think I'd have that in my house somewhere too, if I'm being honest.
I know this totally doesn't relate to what we're talking about, but when I was there in Central Park, you know who was sitting there on a bench?
Who's that?
Big Bird.
Big Bird from, you mean Sesame Street?
Yeah.
Big Bird of Sesame Street fame, Big Bird.
Yes.
Why was it an event?
I think it was, but it was so
or was it one
funny.
of those people that like sit in like Times Square and try to take pictures with you for money?
I don't think it was that. I think something was going on with, they had different, Muppet characters there in Central Park, but I happened to look over, because you can go on like little bridges over, and I looked down and I was like, oh my God, there's Big Bird.
Because everybody goes to New York City, and of course you have to check out Central Park's most famous attraction, Big Bird. All right. I mean, that's not what I would expect to be out in the nature of Central Park, but I'm glad you saw that. So I want to talk about 3 things that just stood out to me. There's nothing threaded to them really, just 3 things that kind of stood out to me. The first one I want to talk about is that gap between when they met each other and when they meet again. 7 years. Being a married woman, or maybe someone engaged, what do you think about that? 7 years that you've maybe been on your own, dating someone, getting married to someone. Do you think that was ever like appropriate for them to think, like, or realistic?
Well, that's the beauty of movies, Evan. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think that would typically be normal for people, but
The fact that they mention it though, that it spent 7 years, was just kind of wild to me. Like, what?
I could
Why
say
now?
3 or something, but
Yeah,
7.
no, for sure. 7's like almost. You're nearing a decade. Come on,
Right.
like let's get over it, okay?
Right.
What I found interesting about that time gap is that the initial script, when I was looking up facts about the movie for the game, is that they were initially going to go for a 12 to 15 year time gap.
Well, that's too long.
Too long. People don't even live that long.
That's like a lifetime.
For some people, that's right. That's what I'm saying. 7 years is unfathomable to me alone, but 12 to 15 years, we're getting to the territory of you need to be admitted somewhere, because this person in that one meet cute cannot be important enough to stay with you for 12 to 15 years. I mean, at that point, these characters would be married. They would have kids probably. Like, it's insanity.
Yeah.
But I thought that was wild. Another wild scene in the movie is they're at the wedding venue. I think it's the evening before the wedding, and they're going to go out and do their bachelorette parties or whatever. And Jeremy Piven, he comes up to, what's her name? The fiance, maybe even the actress's name.
Hallie. Isn't her name?
Hallie in the movie comes up to the fiance and kisses her on the lips. If Jacob, my best man at my wedding, came and kissed Katie on the lips, is that customary? Was that customary back then in the 2000s? Did you hear anything about that?
Well, close friends, a lot of times.
Well, so just for the record, close friends, what? They kiss each other on the lips? Is that what you're inferring?
Well, I'm saying there are couples that we know that when I see them, the guy will sometimes kiss me quickly. Not
Folks,
a long,
if you could see my eyebrows right now, they're like reaching for the heavens. Wait, so you're saying traditionally maybe they would, not just a hug, they would go in for like a French kiss or
just a peck.
Really wasn't a peck. There was a couple second in there when he was locked onto those lips in the movie.
Yeah, that's a little much.
Okay, but I guess that's not known to me. I didn't realize that was appropriate. That was accepted. I have to take your word for it. I'm kind of in awe here, but okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about is I thought it was interesting, but kind of tying into the mythical fate destiny aspect of the movie. In the beginning of the movie, the clocks on the towers are like moving at like high velocities, and there's lightning going on in the background, and you're like, is this gonna be a romantic comedy, or is this gonna be like a fantasy, like epic? Like what's happening here? And then at the beginning of the movie, the shot of Bloomingdale's inside the warehouse where they have the gloves, those cashmere gloves, how they meet each other because they're JC or KB are trying to buy those gloves.
Right.
They're fighting over it. It shows you the progression of the gloves to the store at Bloomingdale's, and they have this one woman inexplicably carry them in their own basket down to be restocked, and it kind of gives this magical, mythical aura about these gloves, and you're like, are these cashmere gloves or are these like royalty? Like what's happening here? But
Yeah.
I guess they really are the MacGuffin to find each other in throughout the movie, especially at the beginning of the movie. So maybe they did have a little bit of magic behind
And
them.
at the end, we're
Those
not going to say anything.
magical cashmere gloves.
Yeah.
Did you get like a pining to go out and buy yourself a pair of cashmere gloves after this movie?
I did not.
So you never owned a pair of cashmere gloves?
I have. Cashmere
have?
lined.
Oh, that's
Like
like
leather.
That's like a gold-plated necklace kind of thing.
Leather
It's
gloves.
not the real thing.
With cashmere lining.
Okay.
So that's a nice glove.
Inspired by the movie or not?
I just a gift.
Okay. We might have to change that in the near future. We might have to get you a pair of cashmere gloves, the black cashmere gloves, of course.
Right.
We'll think about it. So, the last thing that we'll do in the podcast going forward is just trying to give a verdict on the movie. I would like to rate it on a score of 1 to 10. If you could give like a short talk about not necessarily rating it at first, but why might you recommend the movie? What speaks to your love of this movie before you give your score?
Well, the whole thing about soulmates and finding someone or just feeling of like the whole universe, like they said in the movie, the whole universe existed to bring us together.
Okay.
I think overall it's just a feel-good movie.
Yes.
Like I said, you have the comedy in it, you
Yes.
have the seriousness, you have like, oh, that really touched my heart.
Sure.
And I think in general, overall, it's just a real feel-good movie.
Yeah.
And I personally would give the movie a 10.
10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah.
This is going to be the first 10 out of 10 on the podcast. Are you comfortable with that? Okay.
Well, that's
Okay.
my
No, I
perception and my opinion of the
listen,
movie.
I know you love this movie, and I agree with you. I think this, as far as romantic comedies go, even movies, it's a comfort movie. It has some really well thought out philosophical embellishments of fate, destiny, love, and it really approaches it in a very interesting way, especially for the time. I don't think any other movie had been doing something like this. For me, I think that now watching it, I think I'm on the more favorable side. I have a greater appreciation for it. I think the messages are profound. I think they approach it in a very creative way. I do think that some of the comedy they try to put into it is a little underseasoned. I think it's they're shooting for some things that don't always fit the tone, because it is more of a serious kind of tone throughout the movie. And I don't know, like Molly Shannon getting hit in the head with a golf ball, and then right
Yeah.
after it's like the slapstick part of that.
Right.
It is funny, but it just doesn't
Right,
fit always.
right.
I think I'm gonna give this movie an 8 out of 10.
That's pretty good.
As far as romantic comedy goes, it's mature. It's, like I said, it's cozy. It's perfect for the holiday season, especially when we're talking about romantic comedy Christmas movies. I think it's one of the more well-directed movies in that way. I think it does have some of the stains of a 2000s movie on it. Some of the choices they make are just kind of like eye-rolling. But overall, I don't think there's any reason we should be ashamed for making this movie a 10 out of 10. It's amassed a cult following.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. And, I watched it again last night just to refresh things in my head. And I was like, wow, that movie's 20 years old now. And that's hard to believe. It kind of stands the test of time, I think, right, for the things that are happening in the world right now.
Yeah.
People would find this movie a movie that they need right now. Like, might give them a little bit of joy or something, or something to feel good about, you know?
Yeah, it leaves you with a note of take that leap of faith. Don't let the world and its construct lead you astray from what your heart desires. Throughout the movie, like, they talk about fate and destiny, but they're always pushing against it. They're always trying to tempt fate and
Right.
destiny.
Yep.
And it just, again, confirms that you have to act. And you have to make those small, everyday decisions to keep pressing forward. And they really do throughout the entire movie. So, a 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, we're at a 9 out of 10 here.
Yeah,
And I think that's fair.
I do too.
I think it is a good movie, one that we both recommend. I personally would recommend it. All right. Well, that wraps it up for the first episode of the Being Real podcast. Serendipity the movie, Latte the drink, specifically the Bengal Tiger. Lorrie, it was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I live in the Pittsburgh area now, so we see each other every couple weeks to a month, and it's just been nice to share this holiday season with you for 2023. I think wherever you go with anybody, you bring people closer to home, if that makes any sense. Like, you make people feel comfortable. I think that's one of your strongest traits. It really exemplifies it during the holiday season. So thank you for being the first on the podcast. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in to the first episode. Well, many more to come. I'm Evan, the Being Real podcast. Until next time, it is always time to be real.